Hey guys, welcome back to Adventurecruiser. One of the most requested videos that I have been asked to produce is one on non-affiliate scanning for the BK radios. Now, if you have experience with Motorola's or any other brand, you may be familiar with the term non-affiliate scanning. What non-affiliate scanning is the opportunity to listen to a trunk system without interacting with the trunk system, without accidentally transmitting on it, and without truly being a part of it. You are simply a leech listening in. Sorry for the derogatory term. I don't mean it to be derogatory, but you are simply an observer. You are not a participant in the trunk system. Now, when you do affiliate with the trunk system, what that enables you to do is communicate two ways with it, but it also gives the system administrator a lot of control over your radio. They can inhibit your radio, meaning they can lock it out. They can reprogram it. They can update the security suite on it. They can add encryption, all kinds of neat things, update the talk groups. But for our purposes as aficionados, we don't really need that, nor are we really allowed to have it. So let's talk a little bit about how to do it on a BK radio, specifically using radio reference. Now, BK has put out a great video on how to set up non-affiliate scanning, and I applaud them for that because that's where I learned how to do it. But I'm gonna make another one specifically correlating the information between radio reference and BK's res. Now, the code plug I'm going to be writing today is specifically for the KNG P800. Simply because this is the oldest and most available version. However, that same code plug can very easily be converted to the KNG2 P800 or the BKR 9000. It is a really simple process to just simply say, switch it over to another radio. If you are interested in how to clone it into a different radio, please check out my other video on cloning zones on the BK radios. So let's get into radio reference. Now, this is a really big system, the system that I'm going to use as an example. And so it's really important that you have a membership with Radio Reference. It's not expensive and it allows you to download their files in Excel versions. So I have gone to their database home. I've browsed California. I'm in San Diego County. Select that, and then I'm going to go to trunk system and down towards the middle here, San Diego Imperial County RCS Next Gen. That's the one I'm going to be adding, but this is completely up to you. Now what I'm going to do is go in the top right to menu and select downloads. At the top, you'll see two CSV data downloads. You want to download both of these, and I've already done that just to save time. But one is all the talk groups, or as we conventionally call them, channels, and one is the sites and frequencies. This one's important because it contains the control channels, and we're going to work with those first. So we're going to open up our Excel file, and when you open up the sites and frequencies, you're going to get something like this top half here. Okay, what you'll see on some of these, if I open this up, is you're going to see these C's, or Charlie, at the end of the frequency. And that represents control channels. Those are the ones we want. So I've created a little pattern for myself for how to break those out. First, I take all of these frequencies and I copy and paste them into one long column. Okay? Then I sort that column. In my case, I sort it from lower to higher value. And what that does is it breaks out the numbers first and then the letters. So this, all the control channels are grouped together. Then for the sake of the explanation, I created a row with just the control channels. And then with the help of my brother, used a formula that looks something like this. Equals left, open parentheses, the cell I want to read from, comma, the number of characters I want to display. So what that does over here is it says, in this cell, I want to read here, but only the first 9 characters from the left, and then display them here. If I wanted to go from the right, let's say there was an A before the frequency, it would be right bracket, or so on. Then it's important that you convert these to numbers, not formulas. So I copy the column and I paste it as, so let's do this real fast, just as an example. Control copy, we'll do it over here, paste as values. Then it's really important that you come back up to the top and select numbers. Now, these two are simply for educational purposes, so we are not going to worry about those. However, in step number 5 here, these are all just values. So we're going to copy these. We might have to copy that a second time, because now we're going to jump into res, and I'm going to explain how we now use this information. So we're going to create a new file. Now, again, in this case, remember I said we're going to use the KNGP 800. This is the same general setup as either of these, but we're going to use the KNGP 800 for today. Select 7800 megahertz. Okay. I'm going to title this RCS test, and now we are ready to go into our system. First, we want to add a trunking system. So pay attention to these numbers over on the far left. System number 2, it's going to be important. Now we're going to fill in the trunking system details. So we have to go back to radio reference, and we are going to pull the system ID and the Wacom. Now, BEE00 is the standard Motorola Wacom, and 9 times out of 10, that's the one you'll put in if you're trying to decipher a system. The system ID is specific to the system, but there is a workaround for that as well. But I'm going to first teach you how to do this the right way, and then I'll teach you the workarounds later. Now, we have the system and the Wacom entered. Now we're going to enable full spectrum scan. That tells the radio to scan up through this band of frequencies to find the channels associated with this. But we still need control channels. So we're going to go here to control channels, and notice it's empty. I'm going to add 3, and we're not going to touch it. We're going to close this out, and we will address those in Excel. Now we're going to come down to talk groups, and I'm going to add a few here as well. Now, you may be asking, well, how do I know this is non-affiliate scanning? Well, when you click on additional options, the RX only is by default selected unless you have a system ID that you can add in. And that's something you will only get from your trunking system administrator. But this by default allows you to non-affiliate scan with no risk of accidentally transmitting. Now, just a side note, if you do have authority to speak on the trunking system, but you want to non-affiliate scan additional frequencies or talk groups rather, you want to select Force System Reset and create a new trunk system, one for, let's say, you're a member of Search and Rescue, and one for non-affiliate scan. Force System Reset mandates that your radio breaks a communication and then re-affiliates, or in this case, non-affiliate scans with this system. But we're not going to select that because I'm only creating one system and it is only non-affiliate scan. Now we're going to go over here to zone, and we are going to add a couple of trunking channels. At this point, we are almost there. We are going to export to Excel. I'm going to select all. You can get away with just selecting trunking channels, trunking systems, and trunking list sets, but I select them all when I'm exporting, unless I know exactly what I'm looking for, and there we go. I'm going to rename this RCS test. I've already done this, obviously. Yes, I would like to replace it. Okay, now, when we open up the RCS test file, it's going to look like this. Now, the tabs at the bottom are very important. The tabs at the bottom are what we need to pay attention to figure out where we're going to work. Now, remember when I told you to look at the system numbers? The system numbers over here are important. we're going to be working with System 2. Come back to RCS Test, click on System 2, it has our system ID and our WACN. You can edit those here. If you're going to create an entire trunk system, I recommend you create a blank and then export it as a blank so it gives you all the fields to edit. Now, control channels. These are the channels that your radio specifically listens to get instructions on how to follow which talk group. You can edit these by hand, but remember, we just downloaded them from Radio Reference. So we're going to go to Sites. Remember, I said we were maybe going to have to copy this one again. I'm just going to select Copy, and this again is all of our control channels. So we're going back to control channels for System 2. I'm going to right-click, paste value, and again, make sure this is a number. I've had this kind of screw up in the past, and it wasn't a good time. It took me a little while to figure it out. So just doing these little steps of prevention saves a lot of time. Now we're going to go to our transmit frequency, and I am copying all of these down. Now it's important that you select more than one when you're copying down, because if it's 0, then sometimes it will go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, create a sequence that then will mess with the radio. And that is just not what we want. The transmit frequency in the control channels is irrelevant to us. It makes no difference because we are not affiliating with it. We are not doing anything with it. Now we go to talk group IDs. Here's where we go to the second tab from Radio Reference. When you download it, it looks like this. Now I am going to copy this one, and I paste it off to the side. And there's a reason for this. I only want to copy the information that I want. I am taking the decimal and I'm copying all the way down. This is a big system. Control copy. It's kind of hard doing it on a laptop, but hey, this is great. Okay, now I am going to leave a line at the top, and I'll explain that in a minute. So I'm going to take the second position, Control V, and I've pasted the decimal. Now I'm going to take the alpha tag and do the exact same thing. Again, this is a really big system. Now, notice here on column P, the DE, the E says it's encrypted. You have no additional access to listen to encrypted traffic on a non-affiliate scan than you would a traditional scanner. You are not getting anything special. You're simply getting a higher quality radio to listen on. So don't feel like you're doing anything wrong. This is on public airwaves, and here you go. Okay, so now we're going to paste the alpha tag into the alias column here. So select it, and we are going to paste the values. Now, remember how I said we're leaving this top one open? Here's why. We're going to type in wildcard. If I could type wildcard, and we're going to give it an ID of 0. Now, here's the magic of BK radios. If I'm on this talk group, I can hear everything that is not encrypted on this trunk system. How cool is that? I don't understand why occasionally receive only will show no, but you want to make sure it says yes. And again, so that I don't accidentally create a growing sequence, I'm going to copy more than one at a time and fill all of these cells. I have had issues with that on a couple of programming sessions where I got sequential numbers and I could not figure out why my radio wasn't working on this system. So just be careful. You're not going to cause any problems. You're not going to transmit accidentally, but you are maybe not going to be able to program your radio or listen to what you want to. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Might be overused, but at the same time, it's worth it. So I pasted these in line with everything here. Now we're going to go back to the top. and we are almost done. Thanks for hanging with me. I think that you guys will be really happy with the outcome here. Okay, now I've deleted everything from these columns because it does not matter. Now we're going to save. So all we have added so far is the control channels and the talk group IDs. That's it. We're going to go to Res, File, Import parameters from Excel. We're going to select our file, Open, and we're going to do trunking list set 2 and trunking system 57 echo. And that should be it. Now this is one that's a little bit uncomfortable to work with unless you know exactly what you're trying to do. We have imported a trunking system and it has now given it a new sequential number, number 3. It's asking if we want our list sets, in this case our talk groups, to be associated with system 2 or system 3. 3 is the new one, 3 is what we want it associated with. And if you had old talk groups in there, you could select remove current list set entries, and that would clear out the old list, only adding the new one. There you go, finished. Now, I am going to go and delete the one that we started with because it creates a new one when you import. And unless you delete the old one, it can get really confusing. I'm going to delete system. Yes, I am sure. Okay, so now we have our system, our WACN. We're going to enable full spectrum scan. We're going to double check our control channels. Look at that, they are all there. You can type these in here if you want, if it's a small system, but this is a massive system. I don't want to type those. And then we're going to check our talk groups, and all of our talk groups are here. Isn't that amazing? We're almost done. Hang with me for just another minute. So we have a zone. We could add a new zone if we want. In fact, why don't we? And now we're going to add 4 trunking channels. Going to go over here. This is really cool. Select 0. It automatically changes the label to wildcard. Now I am just randomly going to pick one, CEMS area 5. There's a lot of cross-referencing that goes on in this system, especially when you're listening to trunk groups. And I don't know, we're just gonna randomly pick a couple. I don't know what these are, it doesn't really matter for my sake. You could go back to radio reference and say, okay, I want all of California Highway Patrol, and so you select these specific talk groups in your zones, and then you go to zone settings and you would name it CHP. But in this case, we're just gonna do RCS. But that's how you would create multiple zones. So I don't need to create a new system each time I want to create a new zone. I can just go add zone, zone 3, and let's see, CHP, we'll just pick 2368, CHP alcohol. And I'm going to add a trunking channel all the way down. $23.58. I think I did that wrong. $23.68. Dyslexia strikes again. Or maybe it's just a bad memory. There we go, CHP alcohol. So now we are going to write this to our radio, and we are there. Now, let me show you, while this is powering up, how I set up my radio so that I can actually see what's going on. So I'm going to set the top line to channel number and zone label. I'm going to set this to channel label, and then received talk group. So this is under global, P25 trunking, and I have set, well, just double checking. Yeah, there we go, receive talk group. Now we have our green light, we have our radio on, and bingo. If you guys have ever programmed Motorola's, remember how long it takes to get through that? These are so fast. I love them. Okay. Going to zone select to zone 2. Zone 2 wildcard. We're going to let it figure out what's going on with the trunking system. It takes a moment the first time you do this. Boom, there we are. Now, oftentimes I will set
middle finger amputation.
Whoops. Somebody got their middle finger amputated. I wonder if they said you're number 1 to the wrong person. No idea. But what I want to show you is I oftentimes will set delete there or on my emergency button, since I don't often use my emergency button. And what that does is it allows me to nuisance delete things that I don't want to listen to. MTS. Oop. Okay. This is something you're going to need to learn. I am going to switch zones. See how I have priority scan enabled? We're going to talk about priority scan later, but you have to disable scan, priority scan, or dual mode scan in order to do nuisance delete. Now on these radios, it's easy with a flip flop of the toggles. That's how I have these programmed. This one's slightly more complicated because you have to go back to a zone that has priority scan enabled, disable that, and then you're good. Trying to get something with some traffic on it. Okay, there we go. Now, delete works until you power cycle the radio or change the channel. So nuisance delete is a great thing. Guys, that's it. That is non-affiliate scanning. It is safe. It is just like using a scanner, but with more control. You can create lots of zones with lots of different things, just how you want them. I have 2 major trunking systems programmed in this, plus all of my VHF and UHF stuff as well. When I set up zones for non-affiliate trunking, I'll have like San Diego Lifeguard, RCS County Fire, RCS Central, CHP Lifeguard, RCS Air. All of these things are different zones within only 2 trunking systems. So you have a lot of freedom. Guys, I hope this helps. Sorry it's so long, but good luck out there. Let me know if you have any questions. Have a great day.